Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the gastrointestinal tract, its anatomy as well as the physiology that we are going to see. So these are the contents of my presentation, its anatomy and the physiology of the gastrointestinal tract, and what is the difference between the digestion and the absorption. Also the gastrointestinal tract structure, the regulation of the gastric function, then the phases of digestion, physiological considerations that affect the oral bioavailability, and finally the references. So let's see what are the different physiological functions as well as the anatomy of this gastrointestinal tract. So as we all know that when we are taking any medicines or the food by the oral route, that goes directly to the stomach. In stomach there are the different fluids or the digestive juices which are present there. So obviously when we are taking the drug or the food, that mix up with that digestive juices in stomach. From drug from the mouth, it goes to the esophagus. Through the esophagus, it goes to the stomach. Here, it mixes up with the digestive juices. The breakdown of the drug or the food, it happen over here. So, after the breakdown, the medicine is dissolved into these digestive juices or the fluid of the stomach. After dissolution into this juice, it goes or the drug moves to the small intestine. After reaching the small intestine, mostly 90% of the drugs are absorbed through the ileum of the small intestine. Apart from the ileum, there is the cecum, which is a part of the small intestine. The drug or the ions which are not absorbed from the ileum, that ions of the drugs which are absorbed through the cecum. Obviously, the absorption is through the small intestine. Then the drug is absorbed in the hepatic portal vein. After absorbing into the hepatic portal vein, the drug is distributed into the different parts of the body. For example, if you are taking the paracetamol, which is an analgesic drug, which acts as an analgesic. So, for example, we are taking that medicine for the headache purpose. So after drug absorption, the drug goes for the action purpose to the head. Also, there are some medicines which are not going directly to the physiology or the different physiological organs. So after absorption of such kind of a drug, that goes directly to the liver. So in liver, the drugs which are having some different unwanted material, that is removed through this liver. And after that, these drugs is moved to their action or to their site. After the mechanism of action, the drug again coming into the liver, and in liver there are the different enzymes. For example, CYP enzymes are there. So through these CYP enzymes, metabolism is done. So after metabolism, the process is known as the excretion. Hence, the metabolism, it is a process by which drug is converted into the form which is excretable form. After the metabolism, the drug is excreted from the body through the urine. So there is one part that is a first pass effect. For example, drug is there is no guarantee that 100% drug will reaches their target organ. So by the liver, there are some fraction of a drug it metabolized over here. Hence, this is called as a first pass effect. But if you want to avoid this first pass metabolism or the first pass effect, so drugs are directly given through the intravenous route or the intramuscular. So in short, if you want to avoid this first pass metabolism, the drug should be given by the parenteral route. This is the introduction, just sake of knowledge. So before going ahead, the actual anatomy and the physiology of this GI tract. So what will be the meaning of actually the anatomy? Obviously, it is the study of the structure or the form of the human body is called as anatomy. Study the location of organs, reasons for location, and the shape of that organ. Anatomy, it is a science which deals with the description of the structure of cells, tissues, organs, and the organisms. So this is just an introductory part. What is the meaning of anatomy? What will be the meaning of physiology? That you can see this made up of two different words, that is physio and logy. So it is the study of the function of organs and the biochemical makeup of those organs. Physiology, it is the science which deals with the study of the functions of cells, tissues, organs, and the organisms, which tries to explain with the application of the physics and the chemistry. This is called as the physiology. The main part or the diagram of this GI tract. So from this diagram you can understand when we are taking any drug or the food from the mouth or from the oral route, it goes or it moves through the esophagus. After esophagus there is a stomach. Drugs comes into the stomach. The pH of the stomach, it is a 1 to 3.5. From this you can understand this pH which is inside the pH or the juices which are present into the stomach. These are having a pH of 1 to 3.5. That is acidic. After that stomach, you can see different parts of the small intestine. Duodenum, this is also part of the small intestine. After small intestine, there is a transverse colon is there. Before that transverse colon, ascending colon is there. Ascending colon, transverse colon, then the descending colon. So the pH of the small intestine of the colon is 6 to 7.5. After the descending colon, there is a sigmoid colon. Then finally, the rectum. So these are the different parts which are coming into the gastrointestinal tract. In brief, this is the diagram of the gastrointestinal tract. You can see mouth, which is having different salivary glands, then the pharynx, esophagus, stomach, liver is also the part, gallbladder, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and the anus. So you can see the salivary glands which secretes the saliva which contains the enzymes that initiate the breakdown of the carbohydrates, mouth for the mechanical breakdown purpose, pharynx which connects the mouth with the esophagus, esophagus which has the peristalsis movement, or the peristalsis pushes the food to stomach, which secretes the acid and enzymes, and also the mixes the food with the secretions to begin the enzymatic digestion of proteins. Obviously, as I told you, the liver, which is called as a major organ for the metabolism purpose, produces the bile which emulsifies the fat. This is the major reason or the major purpose of this liver. When the gallbladder stores the bile and introduces it into the small intestine. Then the pancreas, which produces and secretes the pancreatic juice containing the digestive enzymes and the bicarbonate ions into the small intestine. Also, the function of the small intestine is to mixes food with the bile and the pancreatic juice. Final enzymatic breakdown of food molecules, main site of the nutrient absorption. The purpose or the function of the large intestine is to absorb the water and electrolytes to form the feces. Finally, the rectum and the anus. So this is the same diagram which is having different pH and different functions. So this is the different sites of the pre-systematic absorption or the metabolism. So the gastrointestinal tract is made up of the two different parts, that is the upper gastrointestinal tract and the lower gastrointestinal tract. So the upper gastrointestinal tract consists of the esophagus, stomach, and the duodenum. Some sources also include the mouth cavity and the pharynx. And the lower gastrointestinal tract includes the most of the small intestine and all of the large intestine part. According to some sources, it also includes the anus. Small intestine, which has three different parts, that is the duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. So the small intestine, duodenum, it is the digestive enzyme break down the proteins that the bile emulsifies the fats into the muscles. Duodenum contains the Brunner's glands, which produce the bicarbonate, and pancreatic juice contains the bicarbonate to neutralize the hydrochloric acid of the stomach. Jejunum, it is the midsection of the intestine connecting the duodenum to the ileum, contain plaque, circulates, and villi to increase the surface area. Ileum, it has a villi where all soluble molecules are absorbed into the blood. Large intestine, which has three parts. As the small intestine is having three parts, large intestine is also having the three parts: cecum, colon, rectum, and anus. Now, what will be the difference between the digestion and the absorption? So obviously the gastrointestinal tract system is primarily involved in the reducing the food for the absorption into the body. This process occurs in four main phases: fragmentation, digestion, absorption, and the elimination of the waste products. Initial fragmentation of a food occurs along with the secretions of the salivary glands. In the oral cavity, forming a bolus of a food is then carried to the esophagus by the action of the tongue and the pharynx. So this is about the digestion and absorption. So from this presentation, we have discussed about the gastrointestinal tract, its anatomy, physiology, as well as the digestion and absorption also the pre-systemic metabolism.